Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center. Tonight with Shawn and I, we have special guest, Rylee Grudzien, because the Z is silent.
That's right.
I just learned that, as a matter of fact, about a minute and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for joining us. If you don't know Rylee, she's a young trainer at Delta Downs.
That's
been
right.
doing pretty good to get started. You're 21 years old now, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got your license, like you graduated high school, it was like August, and then you went straight to get your trainer's license. Is that about it? Is that about right?
Yeah, I graduated in May at 17, and then I turned 18 in August and got my trainer's license.
Like me, I graduated 17 years old, but turned 18 in July, so I understand how that went. So
right.
As I was getting ready for the show, and Shawn will tell you, I'm watching videos and looking and reading other interviews, I saw that Rylee was, if not a horse trainer, you were going to be a superstar softball player. Is that right?
I was trying. Yeah. My shoulders wouldn't let me, but
what happened?
That was
there?
the goal at one point in time.
What happened with the shoulders?
I tore my labrum actually in both, which is a bummer, but yeah, it happens. So,
from playing softball, or was it from the horses? How did that happen?
No, it was from playing softball. Actually, I was swinging a bat and I dislocated my left shoulder, and then I was throwing and I ended up dislocating. Honestly, I didn't even dislocate my right shoulder. I just tore my labrum. So it's a tough one, but everything happens for a reason. So it's all right.
Yes, you were taking too big of a cut then, huh?
Yeah.
Swinging for the fences. Well, that's what you're doing with your career now. So that's to be appreciated. Swinging for the fences with horse racing. Yes, so you got into that. Your dad was a little bit involved in the sport. Your mom was a veterinarian. So the plan B, okay, so plan A was softball. Plan B was being a veterinarian, and plan C being a trainer. Do I got those backwards?
Yes. No, it was play softball in college and go be a vet. That was pretty much how it was going to go. And then my senior year, we kind of sat down and had a talk. I had actually ended up getting some horses from Florida. Before then, the Florida connection kind of opened up. So it just seemed like it was a good time to take a shot at it, since it was kind of a consistent line of horses coming in from Gulfstream and stuff. So, it just seemed like the right thing to do and take a shot, because that wasn't always going to be an option. So I went with that, and I knew I loved to do it. I worked with horses my whole life. So, like I said, we just kind of took a shot, and here we are.
So when you say the horses, you got a connection in Florida, the horses come up. That's Joseph Safi Jr., right?
Yeah, Safi. Yep.
And how does that, for the folks like that aren't in your business, that don't know like how the sausage is made, so to speak?
Yeah.
How does that work? Did somebody just call you and say, "Hey, I got some horses that don't necessarily fit at Gulfstream. I'm going to ship them to you"? Or do you prospect and see if anybody will ship them to you? How does that work?
It just kind of depends. If it's slow, I'll go and kind of look for some. We've honestly started claiming quite a bit more recently as well. But I'm mostly during the summertime, just because the championship meet is over. Pretty much all the horses that I get from Florida are from Safi. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of came about. It was an accidental thing. I had met him at Gulfstream, honestly, during my senior year. I had gone for the Florida Derby, just as like a family vacation type thing. And ended up meeting him totally by chance. And he had some horses for sale. So we bought one when we were down there. That was actually my first starter that I ever had, Poopsie Doopsie. She ended up winning, bought her, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. So yeah, just kind of buying horses that don't fit down there, or just kind of tailed off, or honestly start out and just don't quite have the talent to make it at a place like Gulfstream. And again, it's a lot easier to get those horses during the summertime, especially now that Gulfstream West is kind of no longer a thing. Mm-hmm. So we kind of do that and claim a lot. And we've recently got into the breeding. So we have a lot more lawbred babies coming into the stable as well. But just kind of trying to add new elements to the stable every year. And so far this year, it's gone pretty well.
They're going to be the kingpin of horse racing.
Trying.
For sure. So how many horses do you have in the stable now?
Right now we have about 25.
25?
Yeah, this year, this Delta meet, we cut quite a few numbers, just kind of trying to trim the fat and stuff. And that had kind of been in the works since last summer. Just older horses that don't aren't being quite as productive anymore, kind of moving them out and moving some on as brood mares and selling them as hunter jumper prospects and stuff like that. And then kind of getting some new life in the stable as far as claiming and buying goes. So that's kind of been the goal so far this year, and it's gone pretty well. It's just not always the easiest when things are kind of slow.
I can imagine. So when, as a trainer and someone who, I have to kind of relate in a different way, but so you're a trainer, you have these horses, you're around them, and I'm sure that you have some sort of relationship with every horse.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
So when one gets claimed or goes bye, so to speak, does that, did that bother you at first? Does it still bother you? How does that work?
I definitely think it's a lot easier for it to bother you if, like in my case, I really liked horses before I ever had any interest in racing. Because, I mean, my dad trained when I was a child, but yeah, I was 4 and 5. I didn't understand, the business aspect of it. So when I had first started out when I was 18 and I started with like 4 horses, then it's a bigger deal because,
where you lose one, there's 25% of your barn.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't have a groom, you're working on them by yourself every day. So it's a lot different. The bigger your numbers get, the more it gets to be a business, type thing. So if it's best financially, you might, I really like that horse. But if it was the best business decision, it's a lot easier to go, okay, well, they got claimed, but that was $10,000 in my pocket or the owner's pocket or whoever, so it's just kind of, you just treat them as good as you can when you have them and treat them like you're going to have them forever until they retire. And then if you don't, you don't, you just do the best you can for them when they're in your barn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Rylee. Now, last year you got your first stakes win already. Rich and I were talking about yesterday how we didn't have our life in order at 21 years old, and here you are winning stake races.
Wait a minute. Sean, I'm 55. It's still not in order. What are you talking about?
There you go. Talk about that experience, and I believe what is Peacock Kitten, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. Just the whole way that it happened was really cool. He's another horse that we had bought from Safi during the pandemic a couple of years ago when it first started. And that's honestly probably one of the only reasons why I was able to buy him, was just because timing wise, that's kind of how it worked out. And he had run kind of a disappointing third for 12.5 over there. We brought him over here and kind of had to sit on him for a little while. And I not that I didn't think he was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be that good. And, when we had first got him, he was kind of the type of horse that wanted the lead or wanted to just kind of bounce out of the gate and go to the front and just kind of tough it out up on the front end. And then last summer, first off a layoff, he had kind of got pinched behind horses and ran like 5th. And then the next start, I said, well, let's just try taking him back. So we did that. I had 2 horses in the race. He ended up winning a 2 other than allowance race, and then he won a stake the same way. So he just kind of added some new dimensions to his running style there. And along with that, he had won the 2 other than allowance race with Casey Fuselier on him, who rode quite a lot of horses for me last summer. And he rides some of my doubles now if I get the chance to put him on something. And he actually had gotten days. He got suspended. So that same week of the stake, Devin had got released to ride. And so I put Devin on him. And his first week back a ride, he ended up winning a stake on him, which is pretty cool. So the whole thing just kind of shook out really nicely.
Well, we ask trainers all the time too, your conversations with a jockey, if you don't get the correct ride. Now you're in a unique situation that your boyfriend usually rides your horse. So how does that conversation go? And how is it different with other jockeys that you have on your horses?
Well, the advantage is that you have a lot more time to talk about it because, pretty much as soon as the overnight comes out, doesn't matter if it's the races for 4,000 or if it's an allowance race or a stakes race or whatever. As soon as the overnight comes out, we're talking about who's in there and how it's going to play out and things like that. The disadvantage is then if something doesn't go right on my end or his end, then we're just spending all this time together afterwards. So there's even more time to talk about it after it happens. But knock on wood, just team wise, I think it's worked really well, so far. And he rode for me at the beginning of my career. So just kind of from day one, I think it doesn't hurt that there's plenty of time to kind of game plan and stuff. So when you have 8 days to talk about it together, because you live together, you kind of discuss as many scenarios as you can. So still touchy, but it goes really well.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't go right, I can't imagine how that conversation starts.
And usually it's never me. I'll say that for myself. It's never me that starts it. No, it's very mediated. It's a good thing, but but I can understand how in a lot of situations it can be pretty bad. A lot of quiet car rides home and stuff like that afterwards, but it's been very positive so far.
Rich actually noticed you have 2 horses tomorrow, one at Sam Houston and one at Delta.
Yeah, the filly in Sam Houston, she'll be running on Friday in the stake at Delta. The guy that we have in at Delta tomorrow, he's I like him a lot. We just claimed him for a new owner, and we've been really high on him so far. He's a cool little horse, so I think he'll run big.
What is your future? You said you have 25 horses right now. You're running at Delta, Sam Houston. What's your future plan? Different tracks, more horses?
I would definitely like to increase numbers a little bit. Again, we're kind of trying to get more into the claiming, which we've always claimed, but with having a consistent number of horses coming in from Florida, it's hard to claim a lot because then there's always, you get a phone call, hey, I have this horse or whatever, so you kind of leave a stall open all the time for that situation to arise. But I'd say more so just getting into the lawbreds is something that I would really like to do more of, because we have some right now, but especially like the 2-year-olds, it's kind of why we've been breeding a lot more and things like that. Because the breeding program here, I mean, it's a really big advantage to have a lawbred, especially at places like the fairgrounds, because it's so much easier and the money is really good. So really just trying to get into that and just kind of be 50-50 as far as lawbreds and open breds go. Right now, I just have a ton of open bred horses. So just kind of trying to work my way into that.
So you're young, obviously, right? And in a young lady in a male-dominated sport. Do you find that sometimes that combination makes things a little bit more difficult? It hasn't really mattered whatsoever at all. How would you say that that's impacted the beginning of your career?
I would say it definitely did a lot more early on, especially since I was 18, and I understood, because a lot of people that are 18, I mean, this is kind of all I've done. And whenever I was in high school, I was completely focused on softball and stuff. And then when I couldn't do that, I have been completely focused on the horses ever since. So that's kind of just how I've always been. And I think when I first started, a lot of people didn't think that I was the one training them. And on top of that, now I think sometimes it's an advantage and sometimes it's a disadvantage. But overall, I'd say, I mean, if you win races, you win races. It's not, that's something that I think no matter what your situation is, nobody can take that away from you, no matter how you do it. If you claim horses and drop them or whatever, your win percentage is what it is. So I don't think it's been a disadvantage. I do think that sometimes when you first start as, being a trainer and you're trying to get owners and stuff, sometimes the biggest thing that I would notice is that people would contact you about training horses and then have no interest in actually giving you horses to train and stuff like that. But
they would ghost you, so to speak.
Yeah. So, but when you weed that stuff out and learn it, because it takes a while to figure situations like that out. That's something that, I mean, my dad, he's a middle-aged man, never had to deal with something like that. So that really wasn't anything that he could, prepare me for. But other than that, it's the same. It's all the same as long as you kind of keep your head down and focus on what you're doing. I really don't think it's a big deal at all.
What is your
go ahead. No, go ahead.
What does your daily day look like, and what does your daily week look like?
Pretty much getting up between like 4 and 4:15 every morning. We have a farm. That's actually where I'm at right now. Like 35 minutes from the track at Delta Downs. So start my morning here, and then head over to the track, start training. That's from 6 to 10. Get that done when we don't have racing, come back here, get barn work done for pretty much the rest of the day, and then go to sleep at 9, wake up and do it all over again. And on race days, obviously stay at the track for most of the day. But yeah, definitely long days. Long days for sure.
So if there was something you absolutely loved about your job as a trainer, what would it be? And if there was one thing you could say, man, I sure as heck can do without that, what would that be?
My favorite thing would probably be, even like as simple as it is and as not ideal as it might sound, I really like getting horses that are kind of like Swiss cheese, like have a lot of holes, and fixing them. That's my favorite thing to do. I really enjoy that, which is not always easy and sometimes disappointing because, you know, it's not a sure thing when you do that. But I think that's my favorite part of training, and also just getting to know them as an individual, because having the number that I have right now, that's a pretty easy thing to do. You know, just kind of getting to know them inside and out. If I had, you know, 50 head or 60 head, things like that, you don't have time to do that, you know. My least favorite thing, oh man, I don't know what my least favorite thing would be.
Getting up that early every day?
If I had to do it for anything else, yeah. But for this, I don't mind at all. I really don't mind at all. Man, I don't know. My least favorite thing is probably, you know, coming to the realization whenever you have to move on from one. I think that's everybody's least favorite thing, though.
Yeah,
you know?
I can understand that. Making a decision that didn't work out right?
Oh, yeah. And
kind of like, I'm sure some of those horses, it's like being a boat owner. The best day of they say of a boat owner is the day you buy the boat. The second best day is the day you get rid of the boat.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or, I mean, there's times when you claim one. We had one this meet. I claimed him, and he had been running well before that. The day that I claimed him, he ended up like getting eased and galloping in. Pretty much it was a DNF. So those are always interesting days. But stuff like that, it just, I think when you're training, it's just, you kind of take everything day by day, because it's already a very uncertain sport. It's already a very uncertain business. So, you know, it's hard sometimes, but just staying level-headed and not necessarily not having high expectations, but being realistic, which is one thing that I had to learn the hard way. Is very important, because not everything is going to work out perfect. You just have to, you know, do your best with what you got and keep on working.
Well, I would say to be 18 to get started, 21 to be where you're at, you must have had some high expectations. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine that you have some higher aspirations.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Well, it sounds like you already know what they are. So why don't you share them with us?
Again, just kind of expanding, but in the right way. You know, one thing that I've done this year that we didn't do a whole lot of before is having the babies. So I would like to start buying some babies out of sales. You know, I had mentioned breeding the labreds, which is a great thing because they're homebreds, but also just kind of starting babies is something that I never really got the opportunity to do a whole lot of before, that we did more so this year and last year, that I really enjoyed. And also maybe just moving a string to another track. Honestly, I would like to have a string in Houston at some point. But things like that, even fairgrounds, I like fairgrounds, but as far as moving far away, I really enjoy it here. But also just kind of getting the opportunity to start a horse that is a good horse, and then having the opportunity to travel and things like that with said horse. Which of course everybody wants to do that.
Like the Triple Crown stuff, I mean, that sort of thing.
I mean, really
think about that at all?
Really anything. That's of course everybody would love to do that. You know, everybody wants to have a horse in the Kentucky Derby and everything. But I also understand that for my current business model, that's a hard thing to do, because we claim a lot, we buy a lot, and not a lot of those horses are young. They're older horses that usually are past for where they were running before they're past their prime, most of the time. So that's kind of, not that I'm trying to get out of that, because that's been a very useful thing for me, over the last 3 years, but just working in younger horses and going to sales and trying to find talented horses and bringing them over here, because we had a couple OBS babies sent to us last year, and one of them is actually running in the Take Charge Brandy on Friday, and things like that I really have come to enjoy. So that is definitely something that I would like to add a bit more of as far as training goes.
Do any of your softball friends, or for your high school, when you have a horse running and he ends up in the winner's circle, is there ever a big party in the winner's circle with all your friends, or they're what are you doing? I mean, how does that work?
Honestly, not really, but funny story, actually. I do train for a gentleman that coached me in high school, which, he partnered up with my dad on some horses and with one other gentleman. So that has been cool. But as far as the softball goes, I think it's been a very useful thing to have another competitive outlet, because it's not the same, but it still, gets the juices flowing. So that has helped a lot. And honestly, a lot of the people that I train for, the owners that I have, they don't come to the races a whole lot. So, the winner's circle is usually pretty empty, but I'll say there's not a bad winner's circle picture ever. So I don't mind.
No, I can't imagine. Never be the case, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when the owner does show up, they expect their horse to win that day for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely adds a bit of sense of urgency to the situation, I would say, when they come. And I mean, it's always a nice thing because they get to see their horse or their horses and stuff. And I mean, regardless of that, I've always been big on sending a lot of pictures and videos and things like that, because I mean, you're spending your money and you deserve to know how they're doing. It's one thing for me to tell you that they're doing well. It's another thing for you to see it. So, I don't mind at all whenever they come. It's especially, I'm very lucky to have the owners that I have, because sometimes it can be unpleasant, but so far I've been, knock on wood, pretty lucky with the owners that I've gotten.
That sounds good. Well, we hope that you continue to be lucky with your owners, and that you're lucky with your horses that are running in the next couple of days. You have quite a few running now on tomorrow, and then you have 3 running on Friday, right? And then
Yes,
one on Saturday. So we wish you luck with all of that. They all end up in the winner's circle. That's where they all belong, for sure.
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah.
Is there one that sticks out that you expect to win more than the others? Or if you had to,
Well, the horse tomorrow, as I said, he's new. I do really like him, though. He's doing really, really well. But obviously he's the Louisiana bred running against open bred horses. So that's always a factor, but I do expect a big race out of him. On Friday, I have the Do Run. She's a horse that we claimed. She's won 2 in a row. This is her 3rd start with us. I think she's going to run a big one. As far as the fillies and the stake, it's kind of a bit of a toss up. I think talent wise, they're both pretty comparable. The filly, Taylor's Babe, she wants more ground. I don't necessarily think that she loves 2 turns at Delta. The first time that I ran her 2 turns there, she ended up coming back with 3 out of 5 mucus. She was very sick, but didn't show any signs of being sick before the race. So we scoped her afterwards, and of course came back full of mucus. So we treated her. And then the second time that I tried to run her 2 turns over there, tried to rate her a little bit, and she didn't enjoy that. So she kind of just wants to fall out of the gate and kind of see where she ends up. She doesn't want you to grab her. So I think that's going to be our game plan heading into that race, is just letting her bounce and kind of seeing what she can do, because she's a huge filly with long legs. I really think she wants to go further than 5 furlongs like she has. The other filly is tiny. She's 14 and a half hands, but she can run all day. So I really think she'll be tough. I think, there's no telling what they're going to do, because it's first time trying. And Bryony there, she got a little bit tired. her last out. The plan was to kind of ease her back and let her sit off the pace, and she bounced out of there and wanted to take off. So we changed some equipment up with her, and hopefully she'll be a little bit easier to, to kind of let her settle. And again, to do run, I think she'll be tough. On Saturday, I have 2 Mikes and Doc G, my only Alabama bred, who is pretty interesting. He won an other than allowance race last out, and he's doing very good. Very happy, very fresh. So, I mean, it's a starter 4. I think it'll be a little bit tougher than his last race, but I expect a big race out of him. I'm not going to say he's a cinch to win by any means, because of course you never know with horse racing, but I do think a top 3 finish is very realistic for him.
Good. Well, we hope they all finish in the top 3. You cash big checks across the board. The owners all show up and they're all happy, and then you have a good evening. And I'm sure that right about now you're getting about pretty tired, because I think you said bedtime's around 9 o'clock. You're on Central time though, right? So you're still at 7:30. You got an hour and a half to go. Yes, indeed. So we do appreciate your time. We'll be following your career closely. And when you are off to Churchill Downs to run in the Kentucky Derby, we certainly hope you'll remember us and come back on.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Have a good one.
Yes, best of luck. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, Shawn, yet another wonderful person in the industry.
Yeah, and another bright future. I mean, again, how mature is she for 21 years old too? I mean, we had Diego Herrera on at 17 as a jockey aspect, and now the trainer. I mean, what a bright future.
Seems like it. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it looks like the barn's growing, and Safi Joseph Jr. does get some pretty good horses down there in Florida, and she keeps that connection up. I wonder though if so Safi sends her a horse and he's like, I can't get nothing out of this horse. Goes up to Delta, and the next thing you know, it's sparkling. If he's like, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he'll just blame it on, the track differences, But
a craftsman in his tools, as they say.
But she's been hitting, she's hit at 16% so far in her career. I mean, that's really good.
She's only going to probably get better as she learns some of the nuances. Because I'm sure, despite the fact that she's been at it for 3 years, there's probably still some things that she's not totally got a grasp on. You know what I mean? Like there's some things that, I'm sure she's, there's things that you didn't know when you started your job or when I started mine, or even when we started this with the like StreamYard and all that stuff. There's things that you didn't know that become common knowledge to you later on. Right.
Yep.
And I'm certain that she's going through that process as well, because 3 years in, stuff that you didn't know 3 years ago, you know now, and the stuff that you don't know now, you will know in 3 years. And because of experience and seeing something, and some of it will be internalized so that you know it just intuitively going forward.
And with her attitude, though, she's staying grounded. She's not saying, oh, I'm 16%, I got 25 horses, let's make that 50 tomorrow. She has a plan, and she's so far sticking to it. And as long as she does, she's going to be really successful and a bigger name than what she already is.
Indeed, for sure. You know who's been successful, Shawn? Churchill Downs has been successful. They announced their earnings and had net income last year of $249.1 million. On net revenue of $1.6 billion. Big turnaround from the COVID year. Churchill Downs is kicking some butt, and yet they still sold off Arlington. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate with Arlington. But, yeah, that's more of a – I mean, we talk about the increased purses and stuff too. But that's definitely COVID-related from last year compared to this year. So,
well, actually COVID was better for the horse racing industry last year.
But they counted the casino and stuff too, which I'm sure that wasn't as good.
Well, it says that Twin Spires horse racing revenue dropped from $403 million to $396 million last year. And that has probably to do because a lot of folks were in the there wasn't a whole lot of stuff you could do last year in the casinos, right? I mean, except online. And a lot of states where you can legally sports bet, you can't legally like bet roulette or blackjack and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So let's see. She says, I got Antagon off of Safi last year for 62.5. Not sure how he explained that one to his owner. So I'm not sure either. I'm sure that somewhere along the line they have to come up with an explanation, right?
Yeah. You had an answer one way or the other, whether it was a good one or not. I don't know.
Are you sure you want me to show you those pictures? So another horse story that I find kind of interesting, Shawn, is a couple of them actually that I want to talk about today. This is something that should be right up her alley, right? So I was reading about this horse in Australia and the Queensland racing that somebody bought for $1,500, kind of got injured, but had won a horse race for 500,000, I guess, Australian dollars. Got a little injured, and now it's coming back. And the owner trainer says that this horse is going to be better now than it was last year as a 2-year-old, as a 3-year-old. So guess what? There is hope that you can go out to the track, find yourself a $1,200 horse. But here's the thing: this one was 2 years old, right? It's not a horse that's been kicking along at 6, 7 years old that you're claiming. This one is a young buck that has some upside to it. So maybe we should be out there looking for some $1,200 horses, Shawn, that maybe we can run for $500,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's every owner's dream right there. But how many of them do you have to buy before you finally get a successful one? And a story like this would be the thing.
There's some dogs that cost more than that, though.
Yeah.
Purebred dogs. What the hell? Let's go out and find a $1,200 horse and see what we can do with it.
And we talk about all the time. Professional gambler Bill Krakenberger had $2,000 ready for us to buy.
No, he didn't have two, Shawn. He had 20.
Oh, 20. Yeah, that's
yes.
We could have bought.
That was $20,000. We could have bought.
That's right.
8 of these.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then
even more than 8. We could have bought about 9.
Yeah.
So 9 of them we could have bought.
We would have only needed 1 of 9 to become like that, and we would have been successful.
Yes, and maybe he'd have a whole different idea around horse racing than he does right
now,
yeah. Right? The takeout would be much better in that scenario.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. It's another cool yet sad horse racing story. Did you watch The Sopranos, Shawn?
I did not. I was never into those kind of movies, and TV shows. So I actually didn't know about the source at all.
I watch some of The Sopranos now and then. I just have a hard time. For me, I'm so busy doing other things all the time. It's hard for me to commit to a show, right? Because it's 30 minutes today or 45 minutes today. Then I got to wait a week and do it again and again and again. And my schedule makes it impossible for me to have that sort of commitment to a TV show, right? So I kind of watch it, didn't watch it. Now I really don't have time.
Well, no, you don't. But now with Netflix, if you have one day, you could go through a whole series of whatever you want to watch.
You can binge for sure.
Yeah.
But there was a horse in the Soprano show that I guess 23 years old now, so a little bit older. But the horse was Pie Oh My, which apparently was a big part of one of the shows in there, where the horse Tony makes a bet on him and he wins. Then he tells the trainer what to do with him, and the horse wins again. He wants a bigger cut. Then the horse gets sick, and I guess the trainer didn't want to do much about it. So Tony, having a soft moment, goes into the stall and tells the horse it's going to be okay because he fell in love with the horse. So I think it's a cool story because it's pop culture. It also ties into what we do, horse racing, and The Sopranos, and as many stories as we've read about some of the unbelievable stories around horse racing, like baggage handler to big time horse guy in Australia. Maybe he bought the $1,200 horse. I don't know. But all of this stuff, unfortunately, at times, and I say over and over and over again, some of these stories should be movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
This one was actually in sort of a movie.
Yeah. And then I read too, the horse that played Seabiscuit died not too long ago too. So
not good to be a horse actor, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, that was in there too. So
if you tried to use the website today and it didn't work at horseracingtoday.net, I apologize for that. It's not my fault. There was some kind of weird, goofy issue with WordPress hosting at the hosting company that we use. And then somehow the WordPress hosting goofed up some of the plugins, and I couldn't get back in to update the plugins. And the people on the other end were telling me, no, there's nothing wrong. And I'm going, yes, there is. No, there's not. And I'm like, dude, I'm the customer. I'm telling you, I'm trying to use the site. It ain't working. No, it's this. And I'm like, urgh. So finally they went in and they corrected it. So apparently we were kind of both right at the same time. They were right that there was something wrong with a plugin. I was right that I couldn't use it and get into it to fix it. So tomorrow the site will be back to normal. It's back to normal now. And if you haven't gone to the site and done this yet, and you want to be cool to a young person like Rylee, we should have showed this to her because my daughter is her same age, Shawn. Just head over to horseracingtoday.net and check out the HRT gear, where you can get a nice aqua blue sweatshirt with the number 9 on the back. So show your horse racing today love and get your favorite number for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting on my gear. Ordered it yesterday, so should be a week or two, and I'll have it, and we'll start wearing it and show it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have half the numbers hopefully in the next couple of days. I don't know how long it'll take to get here, but it'll be here shortly. And I have a couple of other new things. I'm gonna have a whole new background. Terry's seen it pretty soon, but it's gonna be. I think I'm looking forward to putting it up there because it's gonna be very appropriate for what we do.
And to go back on your other story, we must be growing. We had all kinds of technical issues last week with the guests. Then Facebook tries to get hacked now with the website. So, it
must be the Russians.
They're trying to keep us down.
Yeah, the man is going to keep us down. Well, we always get we get comments in the comment section all the time. For example, I mean, I don't know what it means, but we get these things from Russia all the time, like this, right? I don't know what the hell that means, but they must be the ones trying to hack us, Sean.
Maybe
it's always Russians. Blame the Russians.
Or they're telling us something probably not very nice.
Probably profane. It's probably like some X-rated website. That's probably what it is. But I can't read Russian, so I don't know. All right, Sean. That wraps up today. Tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have on Vic Stauffer, and he's going to tell to us a little bit about his experiences at Oak Lawn, Hollywood Park, and all of his travels to get to where he is. And then we're going to talk about a couple of races as well. Saturday afternoon, 2 stakes races there. I think one of them is the Rebel. It's $1 million race. So we're going to talk about those. All of us will make our picks. Terry and I will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern to go over Aqueduct picks. Unfortunately, Thomas can't make it on Friday, so I get a day off. I'm grateful for that. But I do believe we'll be putting up our Saudi Cup picks on the website, provided, of course, the WordPress hosting works. And when you click on it, the site actually opens up.
No, absolutely should. And then next week for Horse Center, we have a great guest lineup again. Monday, Hall of Famer Julie Crone, retired jockey. I have that right.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Tuesday, Hall of Fame jockey Pat Day, again retired.
Is he retired? Are you sure?
He's retired. I mean, unless we're going to have more breaking news, but pretty sure both are retired. And then Wednesday, we will have probably future Hall of Famer Jose Ortiz.
He killed one of my cards, one of my races today at Gulfstream for the contest I was in. Once again, just flirting with qualifying and just kind of blowing it at the very last race. I was in it. And then the last race, my horse didn't come through. And in any case, I'm looking.
Well, you can talk to Pat Day Tuesday about how every time you bet on him, you didn't win. And then you can talk to Jose about that Wednesday.
Yes, I'll let him have it. What are you doing, dude? Didn't you know I don't need that 2-horse to win? I need you to come in second. All right, Sean. That wraps up tonight's show. Any final comments before we get up and get out of here?
We did reach 1,000 on YouTube, so we're grateful for that. Yes, but we're not stopping now. Just keep sharing away.
Ain't no stopping us now.
The only thing that stinks about getting 1,000 is you don't see every time somebody subscribes. You got to wait till that next number. So,
well, you can if you log in.
Oh, okay.
All you got to do is click on. See, if you're logged in, all you got to do is click on the banner, and then you'll see there's a thing in there that says analytics. You just click on that, and it'll show you live.
Okay. So just keep telling your friends about us. Getting the gear, whatever you can do to support us. We're grateful and we're reachable.
And if you have any suggestions for guests, do us a favor, shoot me an email at GTSRichB. If you'd like to be a guest, heck, DM Sean on Twitter. You see the handles down there on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We made it easy, unlike our website, unlike our YouTube channels and everything else. But here we made it easy. Horse Race Today. That's the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram handles. So make sure you reach out to us there. Let us know who you'd like to have on. If you'd like to come on too, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had articles submitted to us. I'll do personal stories on anybody that has horse racing stories that wants to do an article together. I'll work with you on that. So we're pretty much open to whatever. So we're very reachable. And like
Sean likes it better when people want to do articles because then he doesn't have to do one.
No, I do them anyway. As long as I have the material, I'll do it. But we're very reachable, and like Rich says, we're a community. So let's build this together.
100%. Yep, indeed. Well, all right, Sean, it is time to get up and out of here to take this day from morning to night, wire to wire. We'll see everybody tomorrow, Terry and I, for Aqueduct. And then again on Saturday for some stakes races. We have a little bit of change of schedule. We're going to still do Saturday, Terry and I. But we're going to do the Sunday races at Sunland because they have 3 $100,000 races and a $75,000 race. And then Terry wants to do the Golden Hour Pick 4. I think that's what it's called. Is that what it's called, Terry? And that's not the Golden Hour. Whatever one it is out in between Golden Gate Fields and Santa Anita. They're Pick 4 out there. So we'll be making our picks for that too on Saturday.
Okay.
All right. That's it. As Porky Pig used to say, that's all, folks. Have a great night. Find the right button to get up and get out of here. Still, I have not found the right button. I almost clicked the wrong one.